in the School of Engineering. And I've got a bit of a presentation today, and I also have some people helping me. So I want to introduce Shane Wibidow, the Assistant Dean for Undergraduate Engineering. I think they call it Undergraduate Services in Engineering. Shane, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to see all of you, and we are equally excited to have your students joining us in the fall. We did receive a lot of questions from folks when you registered for the presentation. Some of those questions are going to be covered by Dr. Davis's presentation, but if they're not, I also will be posing those towards the end. We have three or four students that are joining us as well to help answer some of those. But just one point of order, if throughout the presentation you have other questions that you'd like to pose, go ahead and pose those in the chat. We'll be monitoring those, and at the end of Dr. Davis's presentation, we'll make sure we get through all of those to pose back to Dr. Davis or our students. So again, welcome. We're happy to have you.
So why don't we get started? I'll introduce you to the students we have here towards the end so that you'll know who they are and can ask them questions as well. Welcome to our Engineering Parent webinar for 2023. I want to say something about our orientation goals. So as we always do with orientation, whether we're online or in person, we want to welcome new members of the Santa Clara family. I want to introduce you to a little bit of Santa Clara's educational philosophy, much of which you're probably already familiar with, but share some of Santa Clara and the School of Engineering's history, activities, and mission. And of course, we want to get the students started off in the right direction. So many of them, although some still have their sessions coming up, have already met with a faculty advisor and registered for fall classes. They'll also get a peer advisor assigned to them in the fall. There is an option to have additional mentors through the mentor program that we have, and they've received an invitation to that, and it's in the Camino course. There's also an opportunity for vocational discernment advising. This is a different kind of advising than the ordinary academic advising that all of our faculty do. It's a special group who are concerned, especially in small groups, with talking with the students about why they want to be engineers and what that means to them. So Santa Clara University, the mission was founded in 1777, long time ago. Santa Clara College was founded in 1851. It's the oldest institution of higher learning in the West. And the School of Engineering was founded in 1912. So we are well into our second century of engineering at Santa Clara. Santa Clara is also the first co-educational Catholic university in California. Didn't happen until 1961, but we still were the first among Catholic universities in California to recognize we needed to admit women students. As an academic community, we expand the boundaries of knowledge and insight through teaching, research, artistic expression, and other forms of scholarship. It's primarily through discovering, communicating, and applying knowledge that we exercise our institutional responsibility as a voice of reason and conscience in society. And we have a commitment to fashioning a more humane and just world. I don't ordinarily just read an entire quote off of a slide, but I really like this part of the university mission, and it fits so well with the mission of the School of Engineering. So the School of Engineering is here to prepare diverse students for professional excellence, responsible citizenship, and service to society. We say we're engineering with a mission, with tongue firmly in cheek, but we refer not just to the physical mission on campus, but our mission to serve our students, our valley, and our world. We have a mix of rigorous academics, project-based learning, and values-based education to nurture our students, making them people of competence, conscience, and compassion, and leaders for tomorrow who are well-equipped to face the engineering and ethical challenges of the future. We really do have 4-year programs. students can get their engineering degree in 4 years, and they can be part of a 5-year BS-MS program in engineering. We have the perfect combination of theory and practice, which I'm sure everyone would tell you, but we're right. We live intellectually as well as geographically between Stanford and Cal Poly. We feel that theory is incredibly important, but you also have to have the practice. And so we do a lot of project-based learning in addition to making sure that the students get the theory they need, not just to be up to date with the state of the art, but to advance the state of the art in the future. We have an integrated, values-based engineering core curriculum. Some facts about Santa Clara. So as you probably know, at the undergraduate level, we have 3 colleges: the College of Arts and Sciences, and the School of Business, and the School of Engineering. On this slide, since I have a lot of numbers, I have underlined those parts that are particularly relevant for engineering. In the graduate programs, we have law, business, engineering, counseling, psychology, education, pastoral ministries, and theology. We have 52 undergraduate majors. In engineering, we have 8 majors and 10 minors. The university has 43 different graduate degrees. In engineering, we have 10 master's programs, 4 engineer degrees, and 4 PhD programs. The enrollment in the university is 6,103 undergraduates, 1,145 of whom are in engineering. This is data which you can actually see on the university website under the institutional research page. And I wanted to get some official data here, so I went there for it. Graduates, so in the undergraduate level, we're about 19% of the undergraduate student body. At the graduate level, we have 703 in engineering of 2,957 graduate students. We're closer to 24% of the graduate students on campus. Faculty, the university as a whole has 618 full-time faculty. We have 84 in the School of Engineering. And part-time, the university has 367, and we have 58 part-time faculty in engineering. Now that looks like a large percentage of our faculty being part-time in the School of Engineering. And it is when you consider that I'm talking about the graduate instructors. So it's actually quite unusual for undergraduate courses in engineering to be taught by part-time faculty. Our part-time faculty are mainly adjunct faculty who teach in the graduate program and work in the local industry. And they like having access to our graduate students, and they enjoy teaching and bringing the state of the art to our graduate program. We use our full-time faculty to teach the undergraduates so that they are around for the undergraduates to access. Our first-year retention rate in engineering, 90%, overall 92%. The undergraduate 6-year graduation rate for the university overall for the last 6 years was 88.5%, and for engineering, 91.1%. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, I just said they can finish in 4 years. Why are you quoting me a 6-year graduation rate? And that's simply because that's what people quote when they're sort of comparing different schools. Of that 91.1% for the 6-year rate, 90.2% graduated in 5 years and 86% in 4 years. So there's sort of a trickle off on there. Most of the students can graduate in 4 years. Some need an extra term and finish in that following summer. 96% of our first-year students were living on campus pre-pandemic. I don't know what the actual percentage is now, but since we've added new residential learning communities, we actually now have a very high percentage of first and second-year students living on campus. The distribution. Undergraduates overall 1,283. And oops, sorry, went the wrong direction. On the previous slide, I said we had 1,145 undergraduates. So that was the official word from our institutional research site, which was fall of 22. This is the number that we had as of a couple of weeks ago. So I did a query to see what our latest numbers are. And overall, we have 1,283 undergraduates in engineering. 31% of them are female. And you can see the split up of majors on this chart. Over a third in computer science and engineering. That is a huge bunch of students right now. It's our most popular degree. We're trying to balance it out a little bit, and we're having some success at that. Mechanical is the next highest, and they have quite a few students as well. The incoming students, you'll see CSE has come down a little bit. Hooray. Instead of being 34%, we're only 30%. We also have an ECE degree now. And so that's getting some of those students who are interested in computing who might be more interested in the hardware side. And we're starting to get a little bit better balance among the majors. We have 406 new students this fall, 378 first year and 28 transfer students. And 138 of those new students are women students. So now we're up to 34% female students in engineering. Now, the university core. Our goals for the core are to provide students with knowledge, habits of mind and heart, and ways of engaging with the world. So we have knowledge in several areas of importance. And then the habits of mind and heart are developed by providing them with the intellectual tools they need to make good use of their knowledge, with which they can then engage with the world around them. So as we're preparing our students for professional excellence, responsible citizenship, and service to society, we use the core to do this. And we have several different core requirements that address these different issues. A couple highlights of our university core. We have two course sequences that the students take in their first 2 years. Some take it in their first year, some have to take the cultures and ideas in their second year. All of our first year engineering students are taking critical thinking and writing in fall and winter of their first year. We pre-registered the students in these courses to be sure they got them. They choose their own cultures and ideas sequence. The core also includes a requirement for experiential learning for social justice, which is very closely aligned with our mission. Another unique thing about our core is pathways. We have students select a pathway, which is a cluster of related courses that may or may not be terribly associated with their major. It's really a way of looking at a theme from different perspectives. So it's not really a mini minor in that it would be a minor in a particular subject area. It's more of a minor in a particular way of thinking or a particular topic, but might involve courses in lots of different subjects. This is a summary of the core requirements, and I'm showing you this for several reasons. One is to give you an idea of what are all of these requirements. The core requirements are the same for all undergraduates at Santa Clara. The ways they satisfy the core requirements are a little bit different. So I've decorated this list of core requirements to highlight some of the things that we do in a particular way for engineering. The first thing you see is that big orange block on the second language. For engineering students, the core requirement for a second language is satisfied by 2 years of study of a foreign language in high school or any place else before they came to us. I think that's also an entrance requirement, so they should all be good on that one. I also have put some stars by some of these requirements. It wouldn't be surprising to you, I'm sure, that the star by mathematics and natural science are there, because there's no way you can get an undergraduate degree in engineering without having satisfied through your major requirements, the math and natural science requirements that every undergraduate, whether they're an art history major or a math major, have to satisfy. So when students are looking to take a core requirement, they're not looking to take some random math or natural science requirement. Those are handled by their major requirements. The things that might be a little more surprising are civic engagement, arts, and science, technology, and society class requirements. Those are also handled by special courses that we offer in engineering that all the majors take, and we're sure that they satisfy these requirements by taking those things that they need to take for their major. The advanced writing requirement also, they all take the same technical writing course, which also satisfies part of the arts requirement. And their capstone course helps satisfy civic engagement and arts and science, technology, and society. Our Engineering 1 course also helps satisfy some of these requirements. So again, when they're looking to take a core requirement, it's not one of these things that have the asterisk on them. And then the other thing that's special about engineering students in the core is that an engineering student can satisfy more than one requirement with a single course. That is not the case in other parts of the university. But as long as a course has been approved to satisfy, for instance, Cultures and Ideas 3 and also social science, then that course satisfies both of those requirements. And an engineering student taking that course would satisfy both of those requirements. This is to give you an idea of what the 4-year curriculum looks like. This one happens to be mechanical engineering. And it's a little bit scary because it shows you how the requirements are split up among departmental requirements, other engineering requirements. The humanities core is what that core is really referring to, and math and science courses. And when you see how this is split up, it leaves a whopping 2% free electives with absolutely no constraints on them. That's not much. Typically, a student in 4 years will take about 50 classes. 2% of that is 1. So we encourage them to save their free electives for a little bit later. Now, this doesn't mean they really only have a choice of one course. There are a lot of choices that they make within these other categories. And so it's not quite as bad as it looks, but we do want to be sure that everything they're taking is satisfying something. Even if they're getting a minor in something outside of engineering, they can take courses for that minor as part of their core and sometimes as part of their major requirements. This is a sample first-year plan. And again, since I had shown the 4-year plan for mechanical, I put up the full first year for mechanical engineering. And it reads across. So the way their schedule goes is the top row is fall, middle row is winter, bottom row is spring. It's a little bit different in different majors, but nearly every major will be taking a math and a science course every quarter. They're all taking CTW 1 and 2, fall and winter. And then when they take their cultures and ideas may be different, which departmental courses they're taking may be different, but it all lays out pretty much the same. Typically, they're taking 4 4-unit classes per quarter, plus labs that are associated with those. There's a 20-unit maximum that they can take in a given quarter. And that does not include any ROTC classes if they happen to be enrolled in ROTC. Engineering 1, which all of our first-year students will take sometime during their first year, is split into lecture and lab. Each is only 1 unit, and they don't have to be taken together. So they can decide which term they have fewer labs in. They can choose when they want to take Engineering 1 lecture, when they want to take Engineering 1 lab. They don't have to take one before the other. They don't have to take them at the same time. So a couple of recent developments. We have some relatively new department names. They're not all brand new. Some have been around for a while. Civil, Environmental, and Sustainable Engineering is a relatively new name for civil engineering that better reflects sort of the broad spectrum of things that the civil engineers are involved with. Computer Science and Engineering, again, is a good name to reflect what our program in computer science and engineering really is. And Electrical and Computer Engineering. So we now have computer science and engineering and an electrical and computer engineering degree, both in the engineering school. Now, the difference between science and engineering is usually focus on analysis versus a focus on design. So being in engineering, we are concerned with design. The difference between the CSE program and the ECE program is the electrical and computer engineering is a little more hardware focused than the computer science and engineering degree is. And it is a relatively new major that we have in electrical and computer engineering. I think we've only had it running for about 2 years. And they recently, at the time they got that approved, changed the name of the department as well. We have a relatively new undergraduate minor and a master's degree in aerospace engineering. And we have a new master's degree in robotics and automation. And then we have our Sobrato Campus for Discovery and Innovation. Old, right? We've had it for almost 2 years now, but it still feels very new. The main building is 275,000 square feet. It's the largest project ever undertaken at Santa Clara. And we emphasize design thinking and an entrepreneurial mindset across the entire curriculum. We want students to be able to identify and address real problems, and they do this across disciplines. So part of the idea with this new building was to bring together more of the sciences with some of the engineering departments so they can interact more. Enrichment options. So without delaying graduation, and that's really important because you don't want people so focused on getting done in 4 years that they can't do anything else. They can get done in 4 years and be athletes. They can do a study abroad. They can do a 6-month full-time co-op. They can complete a minor or a double major. They can become a National Academies of Engineering Grand Challenge Scholar, which is a separate certification they can get. They can complete the first third of a master's degree. And what I have there is I've pointed to some of the master's degrees they can get regardless of what their undergraduate bachelor's was. Because in addition to having the master's degree in whatever they got their bachelor's in, they can switch. They can get a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, for instance, and then get a master's in aerospace or in applied math or engineering management and leadership, which some students consider as an alternative to getting an MBA because it's really focused on engineering management. They can get a master's degree in power systems and sustainable energy or in robotics and automation. And again, they don't have to have done their undergraduate in exactly the same thing they want to get their master's degree in. They can work with faculty on a year-long or longer at sometimes research project. And they can participate in many extracurricular activities. We have several student support programs. The engineering peer advising program assigns every new engineering student, whether they're a first year or a transfer student, a returning student in their department. The peer advisors help them navigate academic advising resources and get acquainted with how to get things done at Santa Clara. We also have a partnership with the Mentor Collective. Students can sign up to be matched up with a different engineering mentor each of their 4 years. New students tend to be matched with returning students, or at least the first year students are, while continuing students get matched with recent engineering alumni. And these are one-on-one mentorship relationships that we're forming. The peer advisor, you tend to have one peer advisor with a group of new students, but the mentor collective allows them to sign up to have an individual mentor. We also have tutoring resources available. The Drama Learning and Resources Center, the Math Learning Center, the Hub Writing Center, they all provide support for many courses. And Tau Beta Pi, the Engineering Honor Society, provides drop-in tutoring for all of the first-year engineering courses every quarter. We have a couple of programs that support students who want to do research. And on my screen, I'm not seeing the whole thing, so I'm not sure what you see or not, but it's the Keeler Research Program and the De Novo Scholars Program. And both of these support students who want to do summer research or research during the school year, one-on-one with a faculty advisor. We have several different research centers and initiatives that the students can get involved with, and they can do this through individual research or by joining a team of researchers. The KEEN initiative fosters, promotes, and strengthens the entrepreneurial mindset by providing networking, educational, and advisory services for our community, faculty, and students. And there are several of the labs that work through the KEEN initiative: the Healthcare Innovation and Design Lab, the Sustainable Engineering Studies Lab, which also is connected with the Latimer Energy Lab, the Frugal Innovation Hub, which puts students together with projects outside the university. Some can be inside as well, but we do projects around the world and also local to help out different nonprofits. And the Robotic Systems Lab, which has a lot of different projects going on in air, on land, on the sea, and under the sea. We have many active student organizations. For the size of our school, I'm always amazed at how many active student organizations we have. These are not just ways of students to have something to put on their resume. They really are active. We have the Professional Society, a student chapter for each of the relevant professions that we have. We have clubs that are sharing an interest: the Energy Club, the Maker Club, the Blockchain. We have Engineers Without Borders. We have special interest groups like the National Society of Black Engineers, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, the Society of Women Engineers, Women in STEM, and we have a lot of honor societies as well as a professional engineering fraternity. So there are lots of different organizations the students can get involved with to meet other students and to work with other students on something of interest. We have projects abroad. I said maybe again. Actually, we are going abroad again. We had to stop for a while during COVID, but we do have projects abroad. We have projects in Rwanda. We have projects in other areas of Africa. And we're just getting going again now that we're able to travel. We have co-ops and internships available. These are some of the companies that are within 15 minutes of campus. So there are a lot more than this. This is actually a very old slide, and I'm too lazy to try and come up with all of the new companies that have come on board since we first put this together. But these companies are all around, and they're all hiring students for co-ops and internships and for jobs after they graduate. I wanted to give you a heads up about FERPA. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It covers privacy of student information. Locally, it's enforced by the registrar. Now, the reason I added this to my presentation is because I got caught by it. I knew a lot about FERPA. I know that it means we cannot share any of your sons or daughters' information with you. We can't tell you what their grades are or discuss their progress or lack of it in any course or their progress toward their degree unless they've waived this, okay? They are adults, believe it or not, and they have privacy rights. Surprising to me was it also means you will never get a bill from Santa Clara. Your son or daughter will be notified when a bill has been posted. And unless they've done something to set you up as an authorized payer, you won't know it happened. I didn't know. I called the office because I thought it was about time I got a bill from the residence halls when my son was on campus. And I found out, yeah, you're late. So be aware, if you are helping out with the bills, your son or daughter needs to let the system know that you are, and so that you will know when a bill has been posted. So I introduced Shane at the beginning, and he's going to manage the chat and keep track of all of your questions. But before we start into the questions, I want to introduce a few of the students who are here to join us today. So Nina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Nina Aiken-Nathan. I am a senior majoring in computer science and engineering with a minor in technical innovation design thinking and the entrepreneurial mindset. And my hometown is Portland, Oregon. And at school, I'm involved in the Society of Women Engineers, engineering tour guide. I've been a peer educator, and this year I will be the lead engineering peer advisor.
Thanks. And Sarah.
Hello, my name is Sarah Abruzzo. My major is mechanical engineering and I minor in electrical engineering. I'm a rising senior and I'm from the Philadelphia area. So aside from being an engineering ambassador, I'm also involved with the Women's Ultimate Frisbee team. And I'm also involved with the Society of Women Engineers Club, mostly just the Women's Ultimate Frisbee team. And I'm spending my summer in Durham, North Carolina, interning for Wolfspeed, which is a semiconductor company.
Okay. Abem?
Yeah, so hey guys, I'm Alan Lucas. I'm majoring in computer science and engineering. I'm minoring in math, currently a junior. I'm initially from Addis Ababa, which is in Ethiopia, like East Africa. But on campus, I'm part of NSBE, which is the National Society of Black Engineers, the Sioka Center of Innovation, where I'm an innovator. And then I'm part of Theta Tau, which is the engineering fraternity here on campus, and then I'm also a peer advisor and tour guide.
And Michelle?
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I'm an incoming senior web design engineering major and a studio art minor. I'm involved in the Society of Women Engineers, the OWL, which is our undergraduate arts publication. And this is also going to be my second year as an engineering peer advisor. And I'm also going to be the treasurer of SKU-SAL this year, which is our student art league.
Okay, so you've met all of us, and if you want to put questions in the chat, Shane can forward them on to us. And so that you remember who all of our students are, so you know if you want to ask anyone in particular a question, I'll leave this slide up, which is just a summary of them.
Great. All right, well, thank you, Dr. Davis. I know you covered a lot with your presentation. I'm monitoring both the questions that were submitted as people registered. Some of them were covered by the presentation, some were not, so I'll make sure that I pose those throughout the next 20 or so minutes. And I'm also monitoring the chat too, so we have some stuff coming in there as well. So I'll start with a couple of quick ones that have just been posed. And Dr. Davis, maybe you can address this. One of the questions posed to chat was if a student is ahead in their math, so they're taking Math 13 in the winter, do they wait to take their next math course later on, or should they keep going?
Okay, we like the students to keep their math up to date and not take breaks in it. So we have a lot of students who are starting a little bit further along in math. We just start them wherever it is that they should be starting. So we don't have them wait to take it at the same time that their cohort would be taking that. If they're starting in Math 11, that's fine. If they're starting in 12, starting in 13, they'll start that in the fall. all of the math courses are offered every quarter. And so we can get them into the one that can continue with the math at the level where they are.
Okay, great. This one was posed as people registered for the session. And for the students, can you just share what kind of computer or laptop you are using that's helpful for your major? Anything people should know as they're looking to buy what they're going to be bringing with them to campus?
I've been using the MacBook Air since freshman year. And yeah, so far it's done its job. So yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. I've been using a MacBook as well as computer science and engineering major. And I would say, like, if your student is this major, of course you can use a preference of your choice, but a lot of professors tend to teach through Terminal and with Mac OS software. So I definitely have found that super helpful throughout my 4 years.
On the other hand side, I have a Windows, so it's slightly different. So I actually have an HP laptop, but ideally what I looked at it was like it did its job. Like I'm using it for my class, I'm using it for like certain projects that I have. And so as long as like it didn't act as a barrier for certain things or certain qualifications, then I was good with it. Plus like the price was reasonable for me. So that's why I got it.
I also use a Mac. I use a MacBook Pro, and it's held up. It's been pretty okay. And I found that, like, with coding, when my computer can't handle it, you always have access to the computer lab and they have computers there. So that's also a helpful thing.
Yeah, I was
Right.
just going to add that whatever laptop, or personal computer you choose to have, you do have access to the labs. And so it's not that you have to have something that runs every bit of software that's being used on campus. You have access to it.
And that's what we're referring to there is the Engineering Computing Center. We have a lot of labs through that center. Students will spend a lot of time in there through their computing-based labs, but they do provide all the software that's necessary. You can connect in remotely through your machine. And I just posted in the chat, one of the things that they've done recently is, because they get this question a lot, they're recommending some minimal specs for some things you want to consider. Things that will run well with those types of software that they'll be using. So if you go to that link and kind of go towards the bottom of the page, you'll see some of the frequently asked questions. And one of them is about some of the computing equipment that might be helpful for students coming in. Great. So another question that was posed a few times is for the students, if you can talk about, for those of you who've had internships, how did you go about getting those? How was your experience? What does the school do to help you secure those opportunities?
I can go first with this one. So I actually did not get my internship with Wolfspeed through the school. I got a message on a handshake from an HR representative that invited me to some virtual information session all the way back in December. So I attended it, and because I attended that, I was able to get my name at the top of the applications list, I guess. Yeah, ever since I started interning there, it's definitely felt like home. I do feel like Santa Clara has given me a lot of professional skills and confidence going into the internship. And yeah, I don't know if anything else was asked to mention about internships, but in addition, they do have this course. I wouldn't call it a course because it's not a credit or anything. It's just something you do over the summer. It's called Career Launch. It teaches you how to get your foot in the door at any company, basically. It gives you this whole workbook and tells you how to reach out to people on LinkedIn and who to email at like what time of the day. And I haven't specifically tried it yet because I've been really busy with school, but those who have actually tried it have confirmed that it works. So if anyone wants more information on that, you can email me.
And that actually this year, I believe, is being offered as a course. Sarah, you mentioned you took it as a summer experience, but we do offer that as a 1-unit course now, and I believe it's ENGR 35. It's not a requirement, but if students are interested in kind of that learning how to network, how to outreach to companies and be more proactive, it's, as Sarah said, it's definitely a really good resource for students as they're preparing for that step. So others who've had internships?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a different experience. So this past summer, I interned as a software engineering intern at Nike. And the way that I got this was actually through my student organization involvement. So since I'm involved in the Society of Women Engineers, the School of Engineering actually financially supports us to go to the Women in Engineering National Conference every year. And so last year it was in Houston. So I was able to interview for Nike at the conference. So, and a lot of the students that were able to go to this conference got a lot of interviews, job offers, internship offers. And so I thought that was a great experience and a great way that the school really supports us career-wise, and also a great way to network. And a lot of student organizations have like networking nights where they bring in companies to network with students. Students can get practice with their elevator pitches, giving out their resumes. And so I think getting involved in student organizations is also a great way to like network and get opportunities to get jobs or internships or things like that.
I had a little bit of a different experience as well. I think a big learning curve for me this year was really learning that networking was the way that a lot of people get themselves out there and get those internships. So I am currently working as an AI intern for Shop Premium Outlets, who's trying to transfer to a digital marketplace. And I got that internship through, I was speaking with my senior design advisor because we're building an AI model, and I realized that it was a lot to learn in 1 year. So I started talking to people who I knew in the industry and people who I knew that had connections to see if there was anything that I could do just to like sit on and learn, so that I'm not going into next year completely blindsided by all this new information. And I ended up getting in touch with the president of Shop Premium Outlets, and he ended up giving me an opportunity. So I think a lot of it is just jumping on, getting yourself out there and making sure that you're consistent with it, because that helps a lot.
I'm going to quickly add up on what everyone said, but again, it's like a combination of a lot of things. You know, Santa Clara does offer a career center, the course that Sarah did mention. And then as Nina also mentioned, there's like a lot of these organizations, a lot of these like student clubs like within campus also do offer these kind of events. Like in my case, I went to a National Society of Black Engineers event earlier last year, where I got my internship at Chevron, for example. And again, it's more of like what a student does and like the attempts they make to, you know, better themselves in whatever aspect they want, whether it's the professionalism, networking, you know, having that wide variety of connections with their professors, and just attending a lot of the events. That's where like the, you know, practice makes perfect kind of thing. So that's kind of my take on it.
Great, thank you. So this one is for Dr. Davis. And it comes from a question in chat and some that we received when people registered, and that is regarding switching classes. If people are interested in switching some of their classes for this fall, how do students go about doing that? One of the references, switching from an engineering lecture to a lab or vice versa. What are the possibilities of that? And did we lose Dr. Davis? We might have lost Dr. Davis for a moment. Okay, so we'll see if she can come back online again and address that. Do any of you, particularly peer advisors, want to talk about how changing courses may work? I can have her address the engineering one question as she comes back.
So I do know that students can't change classes right now because I think adding, dropping, switching classes, things like that only starts off at the first week when we go back to school. But I think Dr. Davis is back, so she can take it from here.
Dr. Davis, did you hear the question?
Okay, now I was so focused on trying to pantomime that you needed to unmute me.
I'm sorry.
that I've forgotten what we were talking about.
So a couple questions on how students go about maybe making changes to their schedule that they've been registered for the fall. In particular, one of the questions is around engineering one, switching from lecture to lab or vice versa, if they feel like one is going to suit their needs better.
Okay, so they can make changes starting, I think it's September 11th. So all of the registration happens during the student session for advising and registration. And that gets them their original schedule and they're all set up and we know that everything is counting towards something. And it may not be the schedule that they think is the most ideal in terms of time. So they can in fact move things around starting on September 11th. That's when it'll all open up again. The thing is, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to move into a better time for what you want on something, but you can try. I would encourage the students to swap. Do not drop and expect to be able to add the course you want. But within the system, you can say you want to swap this course for another. And then if you're not able to get into the one you wanted to get into, it will not drop the one you're already in.
Okay, great. So we're getting a few questions about books. So for the students, can you talk about when you get your books, how you get your books, how all that works for you?
Yeah, so I highly do not recommend actually buying them. Usually teachers say on the first day of class, I would find it online before you buy it because usually you can find some free version of it online or you can just get a much cheaper version of it on a site called Chegg that gives you textbooks for a much cheaper price. So I definitely would not resort to going to the campus bookstore because that's going to be the most expensive version.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I would also wait until starting classes because a lot of time professors have books listed, but then once you actually get to the in class, they'll mention that you don't actually need this book or things like that. Or so just like waiting until that point also, because you might end up getting a book that you don't really you aren't really going to use.
Okay, and another question for Dr. Davis, and this is important because the policy on this recently changed. And the question is regarding taking classes outside of SCU once a student has started here and how that works.
Yes, so this is something that we worked toward changing. Actually, it was in process for a couple of years, and we finally did get approval that students can take up to 10 units someplace else after they have started at Santa Clara. Now, if it's a student who hasn't started Santa Clara yet, of course, they can transfer in more than that. You're limited to transferring no more than half the units for your degree. So if you're a transfer student and you already have transferred in half the units for your degree, you can't do more. But every student can do 10 units. So this is new. It just started this summer. And you have to be careful that you're getting something that has been pre-approved to count for what you want it to count for. But it is possible to do that now.
Great. We've got a lot of questions in chat and on the registration about how students kind of keep up to make sure that they're on track. So how can parents help with that? And maybe that's going to be more for Dr. Davis. But also for the students, how often do you talk to your advisors? What support do the students get to make sure that they are staying on track towards graduation?
So I'll let the students answer how often they talk to their advisors. And I'm sure that varies by whether they have an issue or not. But I know I talk to most of my advisees nearly every quarter. Not all of them. Everyone has to meet with their academic advisor at least once a year and put together a plan so we know that you're on track. The student, in terms of staying on track, I can guarantee you, you can graduate in 4 years if you take what we tell you to take when we tell you to take it. However, I can't make you do that. So it's sort of up to the students to take responsibility for what they're doing. A lot of things can be moved around, and it helps to get advice from your academic advisor, in particular for things like when you're planning a study abroad, because you might need to shift some things around to make that happen without having any impact on your graduation. But your advisor is available to you all the time. Well, I won't say all the time. Don't call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. But they have hours every single week. And you don't always even have to make an appointment. But if their hours are not at a time you can make, you can send them an email and say, I need to talk to you. When is a good time? And they'll be happy to meet with you and try and figure out whatever the issue is that you're dealing with. It's a good thing to have a good relationship with your advisor. They should know you. And whenever something's coming up, you should drop by, say hello, everything's going fine. Drop by saying, I'm having problems with this class. What do you think I should do? Or I can't take this course now. When can I get it without impacting this other sequence? So there's a lot of advice out there. The students need to take advantage of it. The students want to say, how often do you meet with your advisors?
I think I only meet with mine once a year. But in my opinion, it's not super necessary to meet with them because you can stay on track with what courses you have to take just by typing in like mechanical engineering 2024 flowchart, and it'll tell you like what classes you have to take each quarter. So if I'm going to be honest, you really do not need an academic advisor. That's how I've gotten by and have been able to stay on top of everything.
I also only meet with my faculty advisor once a year, but she's always very prompt at replying to emails if I have a question. But also as a peer advisor, like I'm available all the time, and we have a 24-hour turnaround period. Usually it's faster. Like I get back to my advisees within a couple of hours. And we're also trained to make sure that they stay on track because we meet with them. They have required like advising meetings with us, and we talk through what classes they're going to be taking the entire year pretty much, and especially the upcoming quarter. And we're there to really make sure that they're on track to get where they need to be, because once you complete your first year, you're kind of in the know and you know what you need to be doing. So we kind of set them up for that.
Great. Michelle, this one might actually come back to you as well, given your minor. But we've got a couple questions about how easy it would be for a student to minor, take the opportunity to minor in something in the arts, the humanities, social studies, social sciences, excuse me, outside of engineering. And actually, Abem, I think you have a non-engineering major as well, or minor, excuse me.
For me, my personal experience, it wasn't too difficult because as a web design engineering major, I had to take 3 graphic arts classes to complete my major. And so those were double dipping for me as a minor. And I think I only had to take 3 extra classes. But one of the first classes that I took to get dip my toe in the studio art department was a sculpture class. And I fell in love with the department after that. I've worked with a ton of professors on their personal projects, and I'm very involved in the art department now. So I would say I did that my sophomore year. So I would say if you're interested in something outside of engineering, get involved with it as soon as you can, because usually the departments, they welcome you with open arms, and they want people from different backgrounds to be involved. And it's really cool to see like what I can do as an art student with an engineering background compared to like a studio art major. So it's cool to see, and it's definitely doable. I've helped a few of my advisees last year. Someone wanted to minor in music, and I kind of sat down with them and planned with them how we could get everything working around that. So if you want to do it, I definitely think it's worth trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I could also add on that, like at least in my case for my math minor, like I was always interested in math, and I just continually like showed that type of effort and like willingness to learn in my classes. And so like I just reached out to one of my professors then. I was like, hey, like how would a math minor really work? And then they, they really helped me kind of like see how my schedule would work out. And a lot of these minors like just require like 2 or 3 more classes to add on. And so like in my case, with the computer science and engineering major, it was just like maybe like 1 or 2 more classes. And so it was very easy to just add up my 4-year plan. And so I think it's a very doable thing. And especially if like one of the students has like other interests, then it's very possible to do.
And as a follow-up to that, potentially to Dr. Davis, if someone is participating in the BSMS program, is there also room to get a minor?
Yes. And again, the thing is, each individual case is very different. So it depends on how much extra space you have. For instance, the CSE major, there is a requirement that you have to do something else, is the best way to describe it. So for instance, you can satisfy it by getting a minor in something else, which might only take a couple of classes, but they allow space for 4 classes to do that. There's doing the BSMS program and satisfying at least 12 units in that would also satisfy that requirement. But that's only 3 courses, not 4. And so there's room in the major requirements for doing things that might count towards something else.
And can you say just a little bit more about how the BSMS program works, when students would start that process, and what it would mean to participate in that? What's the benefit?
Sure. So what happens is in the spring of their junior year, so it has to be after grades have been posted for the winter, they can apply to the BSMS program. And they usually do that as early as possible so that as they're planning for the fall, which is in May, they can actually sign up for graduate classes, and they can take graduate classes in their senior year. I think basically if they've got a 3.0 in the major, they're pretty much guaranteed that they'll get into the BSMS program. And then they can take classes. They can take classes during the summer if they want, but they have to pay summer tuition if they do that. If they're taking them during the regular school year, then it just sort of wraps into the undergraduate full-time tuition, and it isn't any different if it's grad courses versus undergrad.
Great. I know we're just about at time here. I just want to leave us with just a couple parting thoughts from our students. And if you all want to just take a moment, be fairly brief. What is maybe one thing you would recommend students do either right before they come to campus or right when they start at campus to really set themselves up for a good year?
I can start. So my advice for students when they first come to campus is to try everything, because I think one of the things that I didn't realize when I came to college at first was how intimidating it could be. It will be to like reach out to all new people. Like this is a whole new environment, but I really got my grounding from either going to different events for different student organizations or reaching out to people that I like just happened to meet, whether that be in my classes or during lunch or breaks or anything like that. And so I would say like reach out, start really that networking, like so you can find people at school, your professors, reach out to them. And I just think building that network at school is one of the things that will help you the most throughout your 4 years here. And so that would be my advice.
To kind of go off that as well, I think through my personal experience as well, I've seen how this statement is, it's a very debatable statement, but like the idea of like failing early and learning quickly, I've seen that really applied in my case where you would be able to really learn as quickly as you can because you've made mistakes earlier on, but you haven't been, just scared of the mistakes and you want to learn as much as you can, utilizing the opportunities, whether it's the professors, the student organizations, other research on campus. Don't let like a failure, like a bad test kind of like shy away your performance and who you are. It's all a learning process. You're there to have fun, meet new people. And, at the end of the day, say, hey, I went there 4 years, enjoyed my college experience. So kind of make the most of where you're at. So that's kind of my advice.
My advice would be to definitely find some friends in your major because it'll be very helpful with homework and in case there's any information that you miss in class. Like if you can't go to a class one day, then it's always good to get notes from a friend. So you definitely want to have friends from your major, or else it's going to feel really lonely. And I also highly recommend attending all your classes and getting to know your teacher. So going for office hours to ask additional questions. It's always a good way to make sure that the information you learn in class doesn't go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, going off of that, I also agree going to office hours is a really important thing to do to build that relationship with your professor too, because they want you to succeed. Along with that, the first 2 weeks of school, there's so many different like involvement fairs and back to school nights. And I would say just get yourself out there and go to as many of those as possible because you can meet so many new people and everyone's in the same boat as you are. Everyone's nervous. They're starting a new chapter of their lives. So it's better to do that together.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. As we wrap up here, I just wanted to say I posted in chat, if there are other things that come up, other questions that you have for myself or Dr. Davis, please feel free to reach out to any of us. I've posted our email addresses there. But I also want to thank our students for joining us and sharing with you a little bit about their experience. All of these students will be interacting with your students quite a bit this fall. So they'll be seeing quite a bit of them. But thank you all for attending. We really appreciate you being here today to learn a little bit more about the School of Engineering. And like I said, we're happy to entertain any other questions as they come up. And we are really excited to see your students this fall. So thank you all, everybody. We hope you have a good evening and afternoon.